All right, we are live and welcome everybody to the Improvement Lounge. This is episode 5, and I am your host, Marcus, along with Sean. And today we are talking about pride and how it can get in the way from you progressing in your life. So, Sean, how are you doing today, my man?
Man, I am awesome. I just took a nap.
Man, I wish. I get a lie. I get there sometimes too where I take naps. I
I
get
have
up real early and do that.
I have to. I don't know how you do it sometimes. You stay up late, you up early.
I do it, man. I think that's what helps me, man. It's like I do drink a lot of coffee, probably more than I should, but there's sometimes when the coffee doesn't help, and I do take naps, like because sometimes like I get so excited, like I'll stay up late, I'll wake up real early, and then by like 7 o'clock I'm taking a nap after I get the gym and everything out of the way. So yeah, sometimes you got to, man. You got to get your mindset right. That's for sure.
Yeah. Sometimes I force myself to do it. Like if I know I have a little break and it's time for that, and I have a full day, and
Yeah.
that's sometimes I just lay there, listen to like some meditation music, close
Mhm.
my eyes, turn my phone off. Eventually, you'll fall asleep if you don't look at your. This blue light thing is horrible, man. Like we have to watch that. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's essentially what I do too, man. Like I force myself. I'm like I need to because it's better than the coffee. Like it's
yeah,
even 15 minutes sometimes, man. It just refreshes you so much.
yeah.
Gets you back where you need to go.
Because sometimes you're woke, but you're not really alert. You're just up and moving, like you know,
Yeah,
clicking. You know, that's no, I know that's my experience for me.
yeah, definitely. That's the same thing I do. The same thing I experience myself. But man, pride. How do you see pride being in the way? I know this is something we kind of talk about off camera about. Um, there are different good. There's good pride, and then there's bad pride. And
Yeah.
I think I know talking off camera, we were talking about how this topic kind of came up, and thinking about coming into a situation and not uh, taking on a specific situation because you think you're already going to lose and
Mhm.
missing out on the experience was something that we did talk about offline. But what are your thoughts about that?
Definitely, not wanting to lose, or feel. I mean, that's a thing, but in order to be able to win, sometimes you have to lose. And
Hmm.
also, I guess with pride, it's so tied to an ego.
Yeah.
The bad pride. It's just so tied to an ego, so being so infatuated in yourself that you can't even ask for help. So sometimes you just say stuck. And even
Hmm.
when you think you're dominating something, you're only dominating because you chose it. So I mean, and you can't always choose everything in life far as like to get to the next level. Sometimes you're just gonna have to attack and be willing to take that ill, and learn from it.
Yeah, I agree with it. That's well put. I think a lot of times, even when you dominate that space, right? Like you leave out so much, and then what happens when even in that space that you're dominating, right? What if some because things change, right? Like even in that space, what if
Mm-hmm.
things change so much that you're not dominating that space anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you going to be at that point? And I mean, you put it perfectly, right? Like you feel like you're stuck because again, you don't want to come out of the space that you're dominating, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have that issue. And I actually heard something just before I came on here about just being okay with wins and losses and being neutral about it, right? And just, I mean, this can go back to everything about like enjoying the journey, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is, right? Like you're gonna
Yeah.
win, you're gonna lose, and you just have to be comfortable with it.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree, man. It's like you say, enjoying the journey. Just like it's everything's really a learning process. You learn a lot from the quote unquote losses.
Hmm.
Sometimes in the wins, even though there are lessons, it's harder to see because you're so excited because you got to win. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, I like it all, man. I do like to be challenged. I think that pride in the negative way of how we're speaking of when people use it that way, um, it hurts so many things because, like I said, it's just so tied to your ego. So it hurts relationships. It can, I mean,
Mhm.
it can hurt all kind of relationships. With a partner, with your kids. Just can't say I was wrong. I apologize. Too prideful. Your ego too big, and then
Yeah.
at that point, certain people who would trust you don't want to be around you. And just always wanting to be, like I said, always wanting to be right, and that's impossible to always be right, man.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, it definitely draws a lot of like this really negative environment for yourself to where you can't do anything and you're essentially paralyzed. Um, but even looking at that, like, relationships is a great example of that, and being prideful. And I think, you can think, um, going into this relationship, right? I mean, I know you and I are divorced, right? So we obviously didn't have that issue, but I think going into that particular situation, I think, you can be too prideful and think, well, I did this for the right reasons. Now, maybe that we were wrong, right? It's all about opinion essentially at that point. But, um, making that choice essentially to move on and say, okay, well, we've potentially outgrown each other, right? Or even when you're talking about your kids and stuff, and not accepting your flaws or whatever actions that you've taken, and your kid seeing that, learning that, since they essentially absorb everything that you're doing, right? But yeah, it's just a real shame to see people not outgrow that and be too
Yeah.
prideful of that. I don't know, just from where I come from in life, like, it's just right. Like, I've seen a lot of different issues, and I think there was a time when I wanted to make everything perfect and realized it just wasn't going to work that way, right?
Yeah. And that's definitely a lot of times we have to deal with our own ego. We have
Hmm.
to deal with our ego. We have to
Yeah.
accept things. Um, like I say, inside of different types of relationships. I'm talking about, we're saying kids, with family members. We don't want to
Mhm.
let pride get in the way, even if it's just an apology that needs to be made. Because
Mhm.
time, life, none of this stuff is guaranteed. And we don't know when. So why let the pride, your ego, get in the way of just stopping progress, or just being able to ask a person a question? Period. You know. But if your pride
Yeah.
do it, and it's going to take you 8 months, and all you got to do is ask one question.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it can really damage any kind of relationship, right? Because you can be so prideful that it goes on for so long, and then something possibly bad can occur, right? Someone can get in an accident, or it takes in a major event like that, right? Like, someone
Hmm.
could possibly die, or somebody in your family, and then you try to amend ties. So you've gone all that time,
Yeah.
not having that relationship, right? And maybe what is really hard is that you may actually miss that relationship, right?
Hmm.
um, and benefit from that relationship. And so, again, I've seen it many times, right? Even in my family, I've seen it, where pride has been such a big issue about specific things, reflecting on everything, right?
Yep. Work. Everything, man.
Yeah, it's everywhere, right? Pride,
Yeah.
yeah, pride in your work, especially. um, yeah, it's just about taking criticism, right? Like, can you take criticism?
Yeah.
It's not just saying, don't just take somebody's opinion, right? But
Yeah.
it should be, it's about criticism, right? Like, how can you take like constructive criticism and not be okay with that? And I know if you are extremely prideful in, whatever skill that you have, and somebody says something negative about it, um, it's hard even for me. Like, if I've been doing something for a long time and someone says something negative, it's hard for me to digest that. But you have to take that step back and be like, okay, well, I need to try to take this, right? If it's constructive criticism, if they actually have thoughts or ideas on how to correct it, um, look at it, and then try to, because I've molded my mindset to try to always uh, do better. So now I'm more apt to uh, accept criticism, right, and figure out how I can change it. And I don't know if that just comes with age or what, but I think when you're younger, you definitely have a
Yeah.
lot more pride.
I think it comes with practice, right?
Yeah.
Because as we get older, I guess it depends on which directions we're trying to move to. Because you
Hmm.
got some people, it don't matter what the age, they become even more prideful and stubborn because that's the direction that they move to.
Yeah.
Um, I guess having like a circle of people you trust, so then when they do say something, you're not so defensive, and you know you can ask like, okay, why you say that? Why do you say that? Why do you think that? And then they
Hmm.
can tell you. But I mean, it's so many variables in it. Because then, like, I'm still not gonna listen to anybody that just like, man, that's stupid. And if I
Yeah.
ask why, and they can't give me a real reason why, and then of how, I kind of like, I could be wrong. We might do episodes a year from now, and I might say something different. But at this point in my life, if you can't give me any kind of substance to what you're saying, I'm pretty much not gonna listen to you. You know, I'm gonna stop the
Yeah.
conversation, and I'm probably gonna talk about something else, and I'll probably just try to get away from you because I don't have. That's another thing. Just it's about surrounding yourself with positivity, and I think that one of the reasons that you're probably easier, and just like I'm saying, I'm easier to accept criticism now is because I I feel like I put out positive energy, so I feel like positivity comes to me anyway. So like I'm not
Yeah.
as defensive unless I mean I just want to know why. That's my personality. Like so if you say something, I kind of try to like I want to ask a question because I'm not gonna just walk away acting like I know what you're talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
pride too. Pride too. Sometimes people will say something and people will just act like they know what they're talking about and they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big thing too, right? Is having pride and thinking you know everything,
Yeah. Or just being
and
ashamed. Like you don't want to ask because they like, man, they're gonna think I'm stupid. We had a
yeah.
conversation recently talking about stock market and puts and calls and puts. And I
Uh-huh.
think I probably said more than once, hey man, I don't know if this is a dumb question, but because I'm just trying to understand. Like my pride is out the way there. I feel like if I'm asking a question and a person, this for everybody, if anybody would think that a person is stupid or slow because they're asking a question, it's really a problem with them. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because
Yeah.
everybody starts somewhere. Like I'm like that in fitness. I get asked a lot of questions. Um, Sometimes I do know this might be getting on. So I do know you have to let people think a little bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, pride. I don't want to let my because we all. I don't know if this. Do you do this? I ask you this. I'm constantly checking me.
Yeah.
Like have to constantly check me. That's a thing. That's why I'm really not. I'm like I'm in my own lane and not worried about what nobody else is doing because I'm constantly checking Sean.
Mhm.
Because that's what helps build my family, my business, what builds me. With anything, if we want to become better, we have to build ourselves, and then that's just it. And I want to teach my kids that too. Like don't let your pride get in the way, man. It comes before a very big fall.
Definitely. Yeah, I've always, it's about self-awareness, right? And realizing that, okay, well, am I actually jeopardizing what I can learn, right? And having, um, I mean, if you want to go into that whole growth mindset and stuff, it's just talking about, okay, well, you have to realize that you aren't born with knowledge, right? You have to obtain it.
Yeah,
Even people that uh, are extremely smart in some particular field, they've been doing it for a long time, and to think that you're just going to pick it up, right? And I like you said, I have to check myself a lot of different times and be okay. And I also noticed that in when I've gotten older, that I've been more apt to just throw it out there, right? Like I'd rather know as opposed to pretend I know, try to figure it out, which could take a lot longer, right? Whereas if you
yeah,
just asked a question, then you'd have the answer right there, and then it
yeah.
would be done, said with, and
Think
you
about it.
you
And like I don't know if you. I remember being in class in school and ask a question and everybody laughed, but nobody know the answer.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
sometimes we gotta watch it. We can't let We did an episode one to be validated. We
mm,
can't let people validations because sometimes they don't know either. Everybody has their own issues. You don't know what they're battling. So
yeah,
if I feel like if when people know answers, they'll just answer them. They, unless they
Mhm.
have some kind of problem within itself, you know. Yeah, but I've had it. I mean, you'll ask a question, everybody laugh, everybody laugh, and nobody know the answer. So I mean,
Well,
it's pride in the things. I think sometimes I don't know. Have you? It's sometimes it's just a lot of times it's just us. And when we're talking about asking questions, sometimes we may not ask a question because we think, okay, this is a stupid question. You know, what are they
yeah.
going to think about me? Nah, I don't care anymore. I say it with a smile and I ask again and again until I get it. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I know that's like I said, it's something I still struggle with at times. Like I'll be like, okay, well, I should probably ask a question, but ultimately, I mean, I think it's re checking yourself, right, and understanding that nobody knows either, right? You
hmm
find out when you do ask the question, other people will kind of like perk up, like, yeah, that was kind of the question I had too, right?
yeah, yeah,
And that's what's funny. Because I did have a lot of those issues too when I was younger. Like I'd ask a question, and obviously, you get teased or whatever when you're younger. So that I guess that kind of um, programs you at a young age
mm,
to not ask questions as an adult. But
yep,
as an adult, right? Like a lot more people are more open about stuff and asking questions, right? Because I know even coming into like the programming side of the house, right? Like coming from telecom to programming is completely different, right? It was almost like in telecom, like if you had to ask a question, people were like, you don't know that. And then like you in
yeah,
a programming, you ask a question like, oh, let me show you. And then, people are so much more, it's a totally different environment, right? Like people are trying to help you grow in one environment. And another one, they're like, oh, well, you don't know that kind of thing. And so it definitely depends on what environment you're in.
yeah,
And that does matter a lot. Like you said, and you talked about like surrounding yourself in those environments where, you don't have to feel like you have to filter what's coming out of your mouth and be okay with just saying whatever, even as stupid as it is. I mean, you said you thought it was stupid to ask me about calls and puts on the stock market and stuff, but I mean, it's just my understanding that you don't know, and
hmm
so you can ask as many times as you want, right? It's trying to, it's the repetitiveness, right? Is it
yeah,
what's going to help you learn? And so, and it comes to teachers, right? I think when you're talking about teachers, mentors, and all that, they have to be aware of that, and,
hmm
and if you're going to accept that role, right, you should be okay with them asking a million questions because
yeah,
um, they're just trying to learn, right?
hmm
But that does take effort on the other person to continue to want to learn outside of whatever interaction that is, or when
yeah.
they step away from that mentor or that leader, or whoever that is.
Definitely, yeah. It's like even with the stock market, it's funny. Like you can tell somebody's about some things, but then you're not there to tell them every stock to purchase. You know what I mean? You can
Yeah.
tell what to look for, what makes what you think is a makeup of a good company, and how you look at it.
Mhm.
But they have to go search themselves, and they may. I'd rather somebody come back and give me and say, "What do you think about this?" than just what should I do every time. Because then it's
Yeah.
I feel like if I do that, I'm handicapping you. You,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like I'm just really handicapping you if I just give you everything and then I'm being responsible for you. And that's not what we're gonna do. Because if I'm gonna help you, I'm trying to teach you how to do this. You know what I mean?
That's it. It's the whole teach you to fish as opposed to giving you a fish, right?
Yeah.
And just give you
That's a
like the
big deal.
basic framework, right?
Like I said, I keep saying, man, the stock market, you helped me out a lot. I appreciate it. I'm learning a lot. Uh,
Yeah, no problem.
Side note, the market is going back up. But I don't know if it's I don't know if it's I don't even think the tech side, I think that it's gonna keep doing like this. Maybe by the end of next week it might. But I don't know. The bill just got signed, so hey, people might buy some stuff.
Yeah, as far as like stock market goes, I think we're good on
Okay.
that side of the house. Yeah, but yeah, learning. Yeah, it's definitely trying to find. I don't know, man. Like I said, I had heard that comment about uh, wins and losses on some Instagram thing that I had that I was scrolling through. I actually brought up a book about I know there's been a lot of really like, and this is one thing I like about like, like Japanese art and Chinese art and stuff like that is, they put a lot of deep meaning behind, the art that they do.
Right.
And so I know there's been a lot of books, a lot of like self-development uh, bases, a lot of theories and practices off of books that have been written through those cultures. And one book, I guess, was brought up. So I was like, oh man, I got to figure out which one that was. And it was about wins and losses, being okay with it, right? And realizing, again, it all comes down to life, right? Like, I mean, dude, I keep reiterating to myself, sometimes I second guess what I do about what I'm doing with the entrepreneurial thing and everything. And it's like, it could all be gone tomorrow, right? And again, that ties in with pride, right? Like, are you just going to only take on those things that you know for sure you're going to win? I mean, that doesn't sound exciting to me,
Yeah.
right?
It's also on the entrepreneurial thing. I'll tell you this: the longer you're in it, like right, it's kind of uncomfortable at first because it's so different.
Yeah.
Eventually, it becomes a way of life, and you're just doing it and you're moving, and it's not as this that nobody's giving you a check, and you got to go get it. But you'll build formats and things where you got income coming in all different ways. And I know you would do it. You're smart anyway. So like that's not a it's just one of them things though. You know what I'm saying? It's one of them things.
Yeah.
And you gotta feel it. But I feel like it's my most entrepreneurs they have a person who's not you you should seem crazy to them. You should.
Yeah.
Because the
Well,
way
it's funny, right? Because you say that, and like, coming from that, again, I guess you can call it a system, right? You come from that side, and again, you never had anybody that was an entrepreneur. We've talked about this before, but and you come into it, and one thing for sure is you can't be prideful when you're an entrepreneur, right? I think at certain aspects, I think you can be prideful. We talked about being positive, prideful. But I think that comes into being able to adapt, right? And as an entrepreneur, you have to adapt to your environment, but you can't be so prideful that you're not flexible, right?
yeah,
And so,
you got to be 10 steps ahead, 100 steps ahead, like all the time, like and
yeah,
just pay attention to what's going on. It's it's not. I would say this. You know how sometimes you may hear people say everybody should be. I'm not gonna say that. I
yeah, I
mean,
don't agree with
yeah,
that either.
not gonna say that.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do, it's definitely something that a person should try, and they can succeed. But just know that like it's it comes with trial and error. It happens. Like you're not going to just hit 100%. That doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
like through the market, you leverage.
Mm-hmm.
You got this and you got that. Sometimes different things. It's like you plant a bunch of different seeds, and you don't know which one is going to sprout at what time. But you got them all right there planted, and just keep moving. And definitely take the pride out the way if you ever sense it, and just have the right people around you, man. The right people. I'm telling you. And then also being a student. That's what I learned.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people all the time, like when somebody gives me a suggestion, I'll say if I don't know, I'm like, that's cool, but I really don't know how to do that. Can you point me in the right direction? Because listen, they might can't, but if they can, I just eliminated a whole step.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of
Yeah,
me,
definitely.
I don't want to ask them. No, I'm going to ask. We're going to get this right here because we're talking about pride. One thing that entrepreneurs can't have is too much of that negative pride we're talking about and procrastination. Because
Yeah.
time is everything. Time
Yeah.
is everything. So if I can eliminate, I don't care if I can eliminate 2 hours from it, I'm gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of me searching around and somebody just knows the direction to go. I'm not driving around the block. If it's right over there and I'm gonna, and they know it's there, I might just ask. They said something about it, so I'm hoping they know.
Yeah.
So I'm just talking to somebody about a building today, and they told me some great information for real, like stuff that
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't know. Um, so many avenues. I learned this about entrepreneur is that and this just ties into everything else. It's been stuck on the ideal that we shouldn't ever do that. That's what pride gets in sometimes too. We
Hmm.
said something before, and we may have said it 5 years ago, so we feel like we got to stick to it. But what if you learned something different? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You gonna keep saying the same ignorant stuff. It ain't at that point. It's not ignorant anymore. It's dumb.
Yeah.
Because when you were ignorant, that's just something you didn't know. But now that you know, you're kind of being really foolish because you know better, but you can't go back on it because you know. You said
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. You may have been yeah, very prideful in that. Yeah, it's definitely being flexible about a lot of different things, and yeah, perspective. I mean, opens up a lot of opportunities, man, and that's why I always push even myself to try to learn more, and I've seen what it's done because, like I said, I never really got like I've always been like about self development, but I've never been like so much so where I was reading a bunch of different books about different things and all the different avenues it's opened up to my life, and then getting that sense um, of realizing that life is short, right? With the passing of my father, and it's like, okay, well, that just accelerates everything else that I want to do, and so I guess it's really driven me to want to go out and do different things and get perspective and realize that there's other opportunities out there. And speaking of which, man, I started getting into all of this the Bitcoin stuff and NFTs and stuff like that. I started looking at other investments and realizing the opportunities that are there. And and then you take the entrepreneurial filter and put it on that, and you're like, okay, well, how can I use this to my benefit, right? And being okay with that. And again, it's knowing that I'm going to make mistakes, right? But it's the whole risk management, right? Like, okay,
Yeah,
well, I got to figure this out. So I gotta be okay. I know I'm not going to win, but I have to be strategic on the way I approach it. And
yeah.
I think
I,
every good entrepreneur is calculated in that way. Like they take risks, but it's a calculated risk.
yeah, definitely. I think that this is a good statement. Yeah, we want to be entrepreneurs and not hustlers. Like I think
Yeah.
there might be some people will say that's a good thing. I mean, you got to hustle to go get it. You got to grind, but you want to set up things where you do know you have a certain amount of income. You don't want to be day to day, month to month. You want to, and ain't gonna lie, it can be like that sometimes. But
Mhm.
you want to set up a system where you have, you know, revenue and funds coming in, however that's built. If it's built from 10 different things, because then
Yeah.
I don't know, we think better when our minds are clear. You make chancy decisions when things are getting real tight, and if you're hungry, I mean, things change.
Well, I think it's not even for entrepreneurs, right? I think anybody out there, they need to plant a lot of seeds, right?
Mhm.
Like I
Yeah,
think a lot of times we are fed that whole, you just work and 401k, right? And that's it. Like you should be planting seeds. You don't have to be an entrepreneur,
yeah,
but you should invest and learn about other things. And even like, when I try to talk about like igniting change and stuff in your life, it doesn't have to be an entrepreneur. It doesn't have to be all these things, but you should change things in your life to make them better, right? Like we feel better when we make the changes that make us feel better, um, as opposed to living in a mindset where you feel stuck, where you feel like a victim, where you feel like everybody's working against you, when in fact you could it's so easy, right? The knowledge is there, the teachers, mentors are there. It's being okay, willing uh, to go out and learn these different things that allow you to learn where to plant the seeds, right?
hmm
Not just randomly be like, oh, well, Tesla stock has flown up $300 in a month. I should just throw all my money in there, right? It's learning about why it's doing that, right? Or why NFTs are flying off the shelf. And a lot of people may not know what NFTs are. They're non-fungible tokens, and I know it's one of those. It's a space that is it's not regulated. So yeah, there's a lot of bad stuff associated with it now until it gets regulated, just like when Bitcoin first came out and
right.
stuff. But being said, it goes back to the whole thing you're talking about hustling, and you have to be smart, right? Hustling in my mind is, like you said, it's more like a day-to-day kind of thing. Like your nose is down, you're not really paying attention to what's ahead of you, right? You're just trying to flip and do stuff like that. Whereas if you're more strategic about it, your head's up, you're looking at the macro picture of everything, right? Like, okay, what can I do here? What can I do there? And ultimately you win in the macro, right? Is looking at, if I plant this seed, where is it going to go, right? I'm not just looking for the next couple of days. Quick flips help sometimes, but ultimately it's just, okay, where is this going to go to? Where is this projected to go to? And that's, you manage risk and how confident I am in this particular seed, right? And do I feel like it's going to go far? And I mean, this goes into a lot of different things, and this is kind of breaking away from everything, but even like this whole talk about inflation and everything. Sorry, I'm kind of flipping this whole script right now, but this whole talk about inflation, right? Right now, I think everybody may not know this, but there is a big opportunity that is essentially being put on our plates right now. And it's about attaining assets now because of inflation. And this will be the easiest way to ever make money in your life, right? If you can attain assets now, and maybe hustle and flip some stuff to get more money just so you can attain more assets, because when inflation comes, you're going to easily be able to expand your wealth by just having assets, right? Whether that's properties or stocks or whatever the case is, or NFTs, right? Or anything like that. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was thinking about that the other day. Just how to maximize profit and gains. That's why I'm telling you. That's why I like when we talk about the stock market. I like the stock market because with the kind of work I do, it's really, I don't want to think about money. Some people might say that's crazy, but I just think about, honestly, the more people I help, that's what thrives my business, right? The more people I help, the more people I'll be able to help, and in turn, it is revenue. But I really enjoy like what I do. I love seeing people confidence boosted and seeing the things about them change. That's like gives me self gratification, and that's what I really love what I do. But the stock market, man, you can be gangster. Like, nah, that. You gotta control your emotions, because I think that's where pride comes in the way too. It's just, not being
knowing when you're wrong.
knowing when you're wrong. Just don't just stick to shit. I mean,
that's the biggest thing you learn about the stock market. Like you cannot have pride in the stock market because it will prove you wrong real fast.
And then just like learning, like, I don't know, man. Learning is a great thing, and surrounding yourself. I'm getting a kick out of life now. Just I purposely, like I say, I do exercises to like strengthen my mind, but I purposely try to do things to go out and give. But I feel like the universe rewards you for it. So I want to help people. Then I know when I'm planting that, I may not get anything from them people. That's not when I'm doing it. But I do know now I have a lot of energy around, and I can pull. I feel like I know I can go to somebody and ask, "Hey, how do you do this?" Because it's going to come to me. Some people can't get anything because they're too selfish. Like they're just only thinking about their self, and I get it. And it's hard when things are hard. But if you can just sometimes sit back, help out any way you can. It don't have to be with money. Just help somebody, and then somebody will help you, and keep passing it on. So
I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is it's not about money, right? When you're helping people, it doesn't have to be about that exchange of knowledge, right? It's like with us, like we exchange all kinds of knowledge. It's helped each other. In that in itself, right? It opens doors to new possibilities, and like networking and everything. And again, it goes, thinking about like pride and stuff like that, and how it's associated with everything like that is realizing that you can grow, right? And realizing that don't be shameful, right? To go out and ask for help and push yourself out there. And I totally agree with that. Like in helping people, right? Because I think ultimately, like money is great. Yeah, you have to have money to pay the bills. Everybody, and people could say money is evil, whatever it is. Money is just a tool, right? And yes, more of it would be great so that I can help others better, right? And in doing that, right, and eventually we'll get to a point to where we don't need money, right? And then
Yeah.
it'll be the more you can help, right? Like you look at the richest people in the world, right? People hate them. Well, they could just, feed the rest of the world for the rest of the, lifetime, whatever. That's
Yeah.
not going to teach anybody anything, right?
Yeah.
It's only going to hold people back, and then accept that is what it is. And it's more about um, the helping, right? Because I think if you get to that point, then you're like, well, what's the purpose of life, right? Because right now you live the day to day. Purpose of life is just to you're in that mindset of survival. So I have to put food essentially in my mouth and a roof over my head, right? But once you have achieved that to where you're not worrying about that anymore, then it becomes something a lot more in depth, right?
Yeah.
Where you start looking to how can I help myself, right? How can I find my inner peace? How can I help other people find their inner peace? And I've kind of gotten to that stage where I've like, how can I help people, right, with their mindset, and how can I help people expand their lives, right? And it's like you get to a point to where you're trying to pull other people up
Yeah.
to that point.
And let's be clear. So everybody that's listening, we don't agree that money is evil. It's just what people do for money sometimes is evil. Money
Yeah,
itself is not evil. It's for
yeah.
the love of how much what are you willing to do to
Mhm.
get it? That's what the evil part becomes. It's just like a gun. It's the person behind it. It's like I just seen
Mhm.
this thing with a guy, his high school teacher was sleeping in the car,
Mhm.
and the guy came and wrote his high school teacher a $27,000 check. That money wasn't evil. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
A $27,000 check, he got him out of the car, man. That was good. You know what I mean? That
yeah,
was good.
definitely.
So yeah, that's I think that's an old school thing too. People throw that word around a lot. Oh man, money ain't evil. So then what you saying, be broke? Being hungry ain't fun. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Yeah, so you know.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think yeah, there's just so much bad stuff associated with money. Even when you like talk about it like on YouTube and stuff, and talk about finances, right? I think a lot of people are very like standoffish when it comes to that stuff, because it goes back to not knowing, right? Like I think a lot of people uh, may feel like they don't have enough money, right? And well, I can't do anything because I don't make enough, and going to like personal finance and then going into investing and leveraging. Um, which I've definitely been all about, right? I leverage every little thing, every little seed that I plant. I try to leverage it as best as I can. But the only way I can do that is by obtaining the knowledge and pushing, right? And actually going out there and doing it and living it and realize I will fail on some things and not everything, right? I think that's the biggest thing too. When you're planting the seeds, it goes back to the wins and losses, right? Like people are like, well, I don't know, that seems really risky. Well, you got to realize, you know, three seeds out of the four might be bad, but that fourth seed will overtake all the other seeds, right? And once it actually blooms, it's going to change your life.
I feel like everything we do is risky. Is just sometimes we're just used to the risk. If you got to go to work and you get in your car, you get in a car accident. You cross the street and get hit by a car. I mean, but you manage it. You don't drive crazy and you don't play in traffic. So you just
Yeah.
manage what you do. Like you educate yourself. When you cross the street, you learn. Before you let a kid cross the street, you teach them how to cross the street. Right?
Mhm.
Look both ways. Don't just walk straight. You got to look. So that's with anything. Obtaining knowledge and just really just not letting your emotions control you. Like, I think that's the biggest thing, and that is that's what drives pride, I believe. Your
Mhm.
emotions, just because just
We're emotional creatures, so yeah, that
yeah,
would make sense.
yeah, that's what drives it. But just knowing that it's really not going to get you nowhere far. Not the negative kind that we're talking about. I mean,
Yeah.
not the negative kind we're talking about, because maybe because it could be people that want to dispute it. Yeah, we know it's a few different types of pride. We get that, but we're not talking about the good pride. We're talking about you know the stuff that gets people in trouble. We're talking about that.
Now, let me ask you, like, how do you approach like trying to check your pride, and how? I mean, if you're coming from a person that may be extremely prideful, right?
Mhm.
and don't want to take a loss, how do you think they could change that?
Hmm. They have to be aware of it first.
Yeah.
You know, that's the first step. Is knowing. You know, GI Joe taught us that knowing is half the battle.
It's
um,
true. I
yeah,
don't know how true that statement is. Yeah.
yeah. And then once you know it, you have to deal with it. So you're gonna have to constantly check yourself. I don't know if you do this. You ever tell yourself, and I tell myself sometimes, "Shut up, Sean." Like I might not,
Yeah.
say, like just don't talk, just listen. Even if you don't, even in the midst sometimes of a conversation, and you think you know where it's going, you could be wrong. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Just go ahead, and be quiet. And then if you're around people who are constantly those kind of people, now then it's you need to check yourself again because you're like, why am I hanging around? Like if I keep being around somebody that I'm gonna keep disputing with and arguing with, that doesn't make any sense. You know the old saying, if you argue with a fool, how many fools are
Yeah.
there? Yeah.
I definitely agree. It's accepting that, right? And that's one of the hardest things is realizing that you're doing it,
Hmm.
right? Because a lot of times you get stuck and not realize you're doing it,
Yeah.
and then it'll take an event, right? Like something will happen, someone will say something that will be like, "Man, are you?" Um, and it'll cause you to rethink your actions,
Yeah.
and then at that point, it's I don't know. Like I said, it's a constant audit on yourself. Like we talked about before. I mean, it's I have again always checked when I'm in a conversation and like you said, talking with somebody and thinking I might know something about it, and then I have to correct myself. No, wait, just listen. What are they saying? And then maybe the initial part of it that they're talking about, yeah, I know about, but then they start introducing new things that I didn't know about, or a new perspective that I didn't know about, and then it's like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense, all right. And so, um, again, uh, just stuffing that pride back down, and I think it's just a natural thing, right? Like um, because I think we're all, yes, driven by emotion. And the older you get, right, you become more stuck in your ways, I think. And so it's trying to still maintain that flexibility as you get older and still be okay. Well, I don't know everything. And try to allow yourself to to learn again as much as possible, and not allow yourself to fall into that loop. So, but again, I think the biggest thing is just it's self awareness is such a big thing, and that's how you make changes that you want in your life. And that goes back to just whatever you can to keep putting yourself in the moment, right? Because if you keep thinking about the future or the past or anything like that, then it starts affecting the current moment. And when you are trying to conversate and stuff like that with other people, um, but
I'm listening, brother. I'm about to record this so we can go on IG, let people know. But
no, for sure.
yeah, definitely. It's one of them things that, and then rule of thumb, if you have a lot of people around you saying the same exact thing,
Hmm.
you need to check yourself. That's just like, that's just trying to tell you. Now, on the flip side, we have to watch that sometimes people have a preconceived uh, thought about you. So
Hmm.
every time you say something, they think something. Now, if it's just one person, they could have it wrong. I mean, I guess it goes back to the first thing. You have to know yourself.
Yeah,
You have to know
that's a
yourself,
great point.
and also, let's be honest. You feel like, say, if you're having a conversation with somebody and you begin to get really heated, even if you don't show it, that's a problem because it's like, why are you getting so upset?
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I
definitely.
mean? Like that's me talking to me. Like, okay, why do you feel like that? You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
always getting better. I just had a guy in the gym. I still think right now. I was using the machine. My gloves were right there, and I had just got up. I didn't walk away. I was right there. I was supersetting, and I got up, and I was doing. He said, "Hey, you using that machine?" And I said, yeah. He shook his head like he was upset. I said, hey, look, brother, it's a machine. The same machine is right there. He was like, yeah, but I want. I said, now this could be his pride. I said, yeah, the same attachment is over there. You
Mm.
know, because it was the same as like, and I was like, see, that's what. Then I had to catch myself. I was like, okay, let it go. You know, because I'm like, man, what is he doing? But then I had to think, okay, Sean, maybe he just doesn't know. Maybe he could be having a bad day. But
Mm.
if you allow yourself to get upset with this, you're gonna have to check yourself. Like, why did you get so upset? Even though it's hard sometimes. Because when you're working out, I don't know about you. When I'm working out, I'm like amped up, man. Everything else,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm amped up. I'm ready. Like sometimes I'm doing some things I don't want to do. Like, and you kind of like breaking my concentration a little bit. But that's just and being aware of yourself, and it's just like driving a car. This may be going off. Driving a car, you got to be aware of others too. Because like when you're driving, you're driving, but you need to be aware of the road. So that's a thing I'm learning a lot more as I get older. Being aware of people
Mhm.
in a different way because people be going through things. Some people want to argue, and if you allow that to happen, that's a you problem. If
Mhm.
somebody can disrupt your day and you say they're getting on my nerves, they have too much power. And it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think a lot of people, you let silly things or even like your pride is getting in the way till it just ruins your whole day, right? And
Hmm.
just trying to get it off your chest and be like, it's not that big of a deal, right? But if you have strong pride in something, right, you're going to hold on to that and be like, no, they're wrong, they're wrong, and then the rest of your day is garbage, and everybody that interacts with you for the rest of the day, right, they're going to see it. So it's being able to set that aside and being aware of that, and finding something that can help you cool you off, right? Whether that's go for a run, go for a walk, uh, do something, meditate, do something to cool you off and get your mind
Yeah.
right, ultimately.
And that's like this exercise. We gotta being aware of ourselves.
Mm.
Guys, being aware of ourselves, the human body, testosterone, man. We need to do stuff. Like, we need to be doing stuff, man. Um, I always say this, like, you got a lot of people, a lot of kids diagnosed with ADHD. Nah,
Mm.
they need to fix their diet and go play. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well, that's
And
a big thing too. I mean, I've read books about kids too. I mean, boys, right, like have the most testosterone they'll ever have in their life at 5 years old.
and then
And
why?
a lot of times you'll be like, well, even my sister talks about my nephew all the time, and he's out of control and stuff. I'm like, he's 5. He's got the most testosterone. I'm like, if you only knew what testosterone did to your body, right?
Yeah,
Like it really causes you, like the amount of control you have to battle against a chemical like that, right?
yeah.
You don't
But that's
realize
being
how.
aware, knowing
Yeah.
that this, like the guy in the gym, it was more like for real. For me, I was like, man, why is this guy? I'm thinking now. Think about this. How foolish is this? I'm getting upset because he got upset.
Yeah.
I had to laugh at myself because I mean I'm always thinking it's like a delayed thought. It was like later on in the car, and I was like, "What? Like, why did you get upset?"
Yeah.
You know. So it's one of them things. Being constant aware, being around people who let you know about yourself too. It's
Yeah.
okay. I like people that you know um, that we definitely learn from each other. I also like people, when people check me, man. Like I say,
Yeah.
you're a friend. It's okay. Like I'm not. We're not about to fight. I mean, even if I do say scream like "fuck you" at first, what I'm saying? It could happen. But
Yeah.
more likely, I might not. I might because the thing is, I think the hardest thing with that as we're talking about controlling our emotions is that knowing that when we first say something, people are not just going to be like, okay, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It doesn't always happen like that,
Yeah.
and that's
I think
okay.
I think a big thing too you could do is your close friends and family that you trust, right? You can ask them, like, is there something in particular that you may not like about me or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Or you feel like I have a lot of pride in. And I've done that a couple of times with my family. I've
Mm.
asked them, right?
That's
Um, and I think that helps, right? If you're having that other perspective and like, oh, well, this is something you can fix, right? And but you have to realize it's going to be criticism, and you have to be okay with criticism, and
Yeah,
that's why you ask those people that are close to you, right? So you don't get because it will sting,
yeah.
but you have to realize that when you ask those questions, because you're looking for honest truth about what you can fix with yourself.
Now, let me ask you this: would you say this fits into pride? Guys, I feel like I've been asking a lot of like women lately. Like, do women struggle with this same thing? And
Mhm.
they've been telling me, yeah, they deal with pride. But as a man, what if somebody says something to you that you don't like? Can you just tell them, hey, look, man, when you said that, this is what you made me feel like. Especially another female. If a female says the guy, that may be a little different kind of approach. But I think those things are important to do because you let your pride get in the way and don't say it, it's gonna continue to happen. But what are your thoughts on it?
You're talking about expressing the emotions that you're feeling when
Yeah,
somebody's saying something.
yeah,
I don't know. It's not something I've ever done.
yeah,
And I know for men, I think it's different, right? Because I think men are different in society, the way we're grown up, right? Men are supposed to be strong and dominant in general. So I think it's hard for men. I mean, I grew up in a family where my dad didn't express any emotion, right? And
yeah,
so for me to express emotion is hard. Even I ain't gonna lie. Even with like my kids, like it was when my son was first born. It was hard for me to express emotion because I've never felt that from another male, right?
mhm,
And so it was always like macho, macho, macho. You just don't show emotion.
yeah,
And so it's I think from a guy's perspective, it can be difficult, right? I don't know that's something they talk about a lot as far as like expressing emotion and stuff. Is to say, well, hey, I'm not very happy about that. I mean, sometimes I've done that, right? Just like in a joking, sarcastic manner, I've done
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Uh, but I mean, but even being sarcastic, right? There's always some kind of truth behind it, anyway.
yeah.
Um,
Truth behind every joke, right? Most
what's
jokes.
that?
Truth behind most jokes.
Behind most jokes, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's an important thing. I I was raised that way too. So like I'm not like the uh most sensitive guy. Some people say I'm rude, right? But
Yeah.
I do know that it's important to be able to express your thoughts and guys, your feelings. You know what I mean? Like to say what you feel. Because if not, it's still there. It's still built up,
Mhm.
and you're like doing a disservice to your body, and it's your mind. It's toxic for real. So um, I think it's healthy to be able to tell people like, yeah, when you
Well,
said,
yeah, I would agree with that. Like what you're saying, I don't know if I would express it in like in an emotion, like
yeah,
this is being angry, but I'd be more like, oh, well, I don't understand, right? Like I'd look for more of an explanation, like you're talking about, or
yeah,
like this is, I'm getting frustrated. Like why is it this way, or whatever the case
yeah,
is. Um, but yeah, I think for males, I think it's a harder thing. I
yeah,
think it's more acceptable for females is and when you're looking at it from like a social aspect, right?
definitely, definitely, yeah.
But
And then if you brought up like that, it's a thing. Doesn't mean that it's always okay because I've been thinking about that a lot in my own
mhm.
path. Because like I say, I've been told a lot that I'm a brute. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah,
that must be a thing, right? Like I joke around a lot. Like it's funny. It has nothing. But I'm not even ticklish, bro. Like at all. So like
yeah,
that, I don't have that kind of thing. Like, but it's good because at the same time, have things change. I'm pretty sure you tell you because you want your son to tell you when something's wrong.
yeah,
You know, and it's really vice versa. Like the same way we want them to tell us, we need to tell people if you can't. I've done this now because it's more of me creating the type of environment of being the environment that I think is healthy. Not that I think is just a yes person. I want to be around people that they can tell me what's going on with them, and I tell them how I'm feeling. If I can't do that, I probably don't need to be around you. Or, you got different types of relationships. They just can't
Mhm.
be a close person to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that
Um,
makes sense. I know even like again, with my kids and stuff, like I try to do like you're saying, like talk about emotion
mm,
with them as to get on their levels to
yeah,
because with them, right, that their minds aren't as developed. So I have to use easier terms and then talk about feelings in that way. And as an adult, I mean, you shouldn't complicate it by using different words or whatever or
yeah. They looking at you
around
like,
the bush, right? You should come directly with the emotion, right? Like I'm
mm,
feeling angry or I'm sad or whatever because of what is going on, but and then provide some kind of explanation behind that. But
and I think it takes coaching, like with especially with the kids. I got, I have two boys, so when
mm,
I'll have to ask them like, okay, with taking my own emotions, because sometimes I could get mad because they mad again. Like I'm like, so why do you feel like that? Like, what's the problem? And
yeah,
then in this when we talk about testosterone, they could easily say, nah, man, tell me what's up. You know what I mean? Tell me what's up. Like it's funny. I played a little game with my kids this year. I said, hey, because somebody said it to me, and I was like, man, my kids don't expect anything from me on Valentine's Day. I don't do that, right? I
yeah.
mean, I just don't do that. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna go ask them. I said, hey, what y'all want for Valentine's Day? You should have seen them, man. They looked at me like,
Oh, yeah. What?
I said, man, stop playing. They were like, stop playing with me. Except my youngest, he was like, actually, he said, well, he a thinker. He said, well, you could take me to that seafood place. I said, man, you a funny guy. Like my oldest is like, man, stop playing with me. Like,
Funny.
but that's the thing. I think that it's a lot of freedom in not putting yourself. That's the pride. Once when we put ourselves in the box of what is supposed to be expected and what we think, but then we get older and we start to learn. We evolve. Our parents expected us to evolve. Maybe not in the ways of some of these ways up here, but they did it. They hoped for us to do it,
Yeah.
and now we're here. So
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, it's just I've never really looked at it from that as far as like an emotion and stuff. But I have definitely started doing it more with my kids and stuff like that, and realizing about emotion
Mhm.
and trying to develop that because it is again we are emotional creatures, and I think we do tend to forget that.
Yeah, and it creates a psychopath in a sense. Sometimes people feel
Yeah,
like they can't feel or they shouldn't feel, but the truth is, if you do, you do. You know what I mean? If something
yeah,
makes you mad, we got to accept it, right? Now, should we be mad? We got to check ourselves and see what's going on.
yeah. Well, I think ultimately, right, like any emotion, right, it's just not understanding where the other person's coming from.
Yeah, or they could be totally wrong. They could be.
Yeah.
I think that's a whole different topic. I think the hardest thing, one of the hardest things to deal with, is expecting an apology or wanting an apology from somebody who's never going to apologize and they're wrong. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a hard thing. So when I think about that, I told myself years ago I didn't want to be the person who dishes that out because you can
Hmm.
you can you can mess a kid up like that. You don't want
Yeah.
your kid to grow up and say, you know what, man, my dad never apologized for anything. You know,
Yeah.
because then you could build things up in them or just
Hmm.
a way of thinking. So I just, like we've been talking, I just think it's a lot of freedom in just learning and growing. And then like if you're sure of yourself, um, not really worried about, oh, you're soft. I'm not, so that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like quote unquote, I don't care about that. Like you can
Yeah.
try those angles if you want. I wouldn't say someone suggested, but other than that, let's just get it. Let's just grow, man. That's it.
Yeah, again, I think you get to a time in your life, right? Like I think at our age, like you start caring less about what other people think of you, and it's more about just really just getting the truth behind everything, right?
Yeah, the real truth, not of what we think. you know. On
Yeah.
the side
Like
note, I'm around
correct me where I'm wrong and
yeah.
let's work it out and talk about it. Yeah.
It's probably the beard though, bro. I've been noticing you've been growing that beard, man. So I don't know, it might be some wisdom in the beard.
I trim it all the time, man. It doesn't grow. It stays where it is, man.
I've been noticing. I've been to tell. I said, man, Marcus, you growing a beard, man. Yeah.
It's not that big. Yeah, I don't like growing it out too big. I keep it short.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes my beard hides the grays that's within. But then the thing about gray hair,
can't hide it, man.
yeah, the thing about gray hair, you notice it grows everywhere it wants to. It
Gray
don't grow
hair.
like the other hair, like it'll grow out here, you know. Get on topic, man. But yeah, definitely. I know we're definitely at the hour. Hopefully, people, everybody listening, took something away from it, and also, like Marcus always says, hit the like, share, notification button, comment, tell us what you think about what we're saying. We really want to hear your input. It helps us if you comment, tell us your thoughts and what do you think and how has pride helped or hurt you. And let's just keep this going. Also, below on the comments buttons, if you would like to hear us talk about anything, let us know. We here.
Yeah, most definitely. So, with that being said, with a nice closeout from Sean, I would like to thank everybody. Sean and I would like to thank everybody for listening. And until next time, guys, we'll see you later.
Peace.